Hear ye, hear ye. The earth is flat. And for those of you who don't believe the earth is flat, the first part of my dissertation is going to be a direct, I'm going to read NASA, NASA. I'm going to read the flight manual, and I'm going to show you NASA reference publication 1207, August 1988. NASA, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, all government agencies, all pilots are trained with this first initial page with the understanding of what's on the first page of a flight manual designated from NASA and all other armed services, that the Earth is a non-moving, flat, stationary object, and pilots should approach all their flight patterns understanding that the Earth is flat and a non-moving stationary object. So let's turn this around, and here we go. So here is the NASA reference publication 1207 from August 1988. Okay, so let's I've never done this before. All right, so let's go down, and it's written by Eugene L. Duke, Robert F. Antonowitz, and Keith D. Cranberry. Okay, let's move down one more page. NASA, there's the NASA logo, and that's the publication name again. Now, the name of the first article is Derivation and Definition of Linear Aircraft Models. So, linear means level and or line, across, horizontal. Linear aircraft model. And then it's done by the Ames Research Center, which is, I've heard of that before, Dryden Flight Research Facility, and Edwards, California, which is where Edwards Air Force Base is located. But I don't know that it's Edwards Air Force Base. Now, this is the table of contents, which basically gives you flight, the different control systems, ailerons, flaps, and how flight is perpetrated in the flight mode. In other words, once you take off, there's a whole bunch of nomenclature for pilot training that I don't know. Most of it, some of it I did know and forgot, and some of it I remember. But this is their flight manual. Okay, so this is, once again, I'm going to go up to the top for the people that are just coming in. This is NASA reference material, publication 1207, published in 1988. This teaches pilots and or astronauts, because astronauts typically were pilots before they became astronauts. This teaches them the basic flight instructions and how to deal with flight. So I'm not going to read all of this. but I'm going to just go through it. Linear system equations, aerodynamics, forces and moments. Unless you're familiar with basic flight, all of this is not going to mean anything. What's really going to mean something is what I get to page 1. But basically, any possible problem or any possible situation that you can come to in and while studying how to fly and in flight itself is covered in this manual. Crosswinds, how to crab into the wind, so on and so forth. It covers the basic movement roles, pitching, yaw, attitude. Side force derivatives would be something that you'd have to learn to crab into the wind. You learn how to crab by flying along. Most people learn how to crab by flying alongside a road with a crosswind, and you keep the aircraft maybe 20 degrees or 5 degrees off straight forward flight with a crosswind coming in from your, let's say, starboard side, and you would keep the aircraft 20 or 5 degrees facing towards the right, but the crosswind keeps you parallel to the road. Or I learned on a beach by flying along Jones's Beach, and you follow the beach and the water level at the tide. So you have all of the forces that are going to come in play in flight. Every possible variable is going to be discussed in this book. And then the angle of attack, so you could there's just so much stuff. And to become a pilot, you have to read a lot of stuff. You have to be very smart to become a pilot. So, but this covers every possible aspect of flight, and the book is written by NASA. All of this stuff is just the theory and provable ways that work in order to fly. Now we're coming down to the summary of what's in the book. Now the summary, I'm going to read this. It's a PDF file, so it cannot be changed. See, I'll show you. It's a PDF file. See the top up there? It says PDF. PDFs are a file that can never change a PDF. Even to change a comma in a large volume, you have to make a new PDF. You cannot correct or change a PDF once it's been created. So we're going to read. I'm going to try to get all of this in there. Okay, this is a summary of all of the above nomenclature and flight rules, regulations, restrictions, how to deal with different currents during flight for all aircraft, not just an airplane, but all aircraft. That doesn't matter what it is. Could be a helicopter, could be a flight wingsuit, now that they have those. It could be a glider. All of the above flight regulations and rules and instructions are subject to all flight, period. There's no trying to get this back far enough so you could see the whole thing. Okay, now I have it back where it belongs. So this report from NASA, we'll go back up again for those of you who don't know where this report is coming from. We're going to go back up to the page. This is NASA reference publication 1207, and of course I'm going to provide you with the link. These are the instructions on how to fly in any environment: rain, snow, sleet, so on and so forth. Maybe I should give this to you right now. So let me give you this link right now, and while we're on the subject of the link itself, and then I will let you also read along with me. I will let you read along with me. Let me just get past, I have to go to my channel. YouTube is working slow today. Okay. And this manual is given to all, not some, but all pilots. Anyone that ever plans to fly for any of the armed services or work for NASA in any kind of flight mode, anything, it doesn't matter what it is. If it has to do with flying and it has to do with taking off or landing, NASA and all other armed services use this manual as their instruction book. So I'm going to put down its, I'm going to post it 3 times. And it says NASA Gov Centers, Dryden, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to post that 3 times. Now, you guys can check this out for yourself. This is a legitimate document from NASA itself. And it's on the net. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you people is when I have told you that friends of mine who are pilots and anybody I've ever spoken to about this that knows about flight in and of itself knows that the earth is flat. So let's go. This is the summary of the report 1207. This report documents the derivation and definition of linear aircraft model for rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Okay, so right there, non-rotating Earth. Because NASA has to train their pilots or future pilots how to fly over a non-rotating Earth, because the Earth does not rotate. So they have to train people that are going to be in charge of billion-dollar aircraft to fly over the flat Earth. They can't train people to fly over a rotating Earth if it doesn't exist. This is not a joke. This is the best kept secret in the universe. Now, you're not going to hear this from a pilot, because a pilot knows if you get off an airplane and you say, is the Earth flat? They're asked that question several hundred times a month. They're going to say, no, the Earth is round. Because if they say the Earth is flat and you're videotaping them, they are going to lose their job. This conspiracy theory, that which people like Joe Rogan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the science guy, they all know the truth. They all know the truth that the Earth is non-rotating and flat. But Joe Rogan he initially gets $75,000 per podcast. Minimum guaranteed $75,000. And then thereafter, he can make as much as $500,000 per podcast. And he has hundreds of them. He's made $100 million, perhaps, maybe $50 million, maybe $30 million doing podcasts. And what does he do? He sits there and he does chit-chat with very famous people. And they're all in on the scam. They are all in on the deception that the Earth is round and rotating. If you people had any idea what the actual numbers are of the so-called rotating Earth, you would say, no, that's not possible. But let's read this, and then I'll go through the first 1 or 2 paragraphs of this, and then I'll allow some questions and answers, but I do want to post one more thing here. I want to post the link for this video here before we go further. This way you guys can watch this later. I want to get it up in the links before we get too much spam in the link. So this is an audiobook by Eric DUBAY. It's 8 hours and 35 minutes. Okay, this is a long one, and in this one he doesn't give any pictorials with pictures, but he does go on to describe the fraud of what you want to believe to be the globe or globulous earth, round, sphere, pear-shaped, apple-shaped, pancake-shaped. None of that has anything to do with reality. 70% of the earth is water. Water seeks its own level. That's just fluid dynamics, cannot change. And 20% of the rest, 10% of the rest of our flat earth is flat. Kansas, for instance, has, I don't know, 80,000 square kilometers of flat land. But that's not today's topic. We're going back to the Flat Earth Hollow Moon. I'm going to post the name of that video. It's all in this video, that Kansas and how much of the percentage of the water is, how much of percentage of the land mass is flat, and how much of a percentage of in different countries. There are parts of different countries that are 150,000 kilometers, square kilometers of just flat, level plains. And when I say flat, I mean flat within 1 or 2% from one end to the other. They are literally flat surfaces. So let's, I'm going to post this Flat Earth conspiracy. Now this fella, Eric DUBAY, he has a better video that called 200 Proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball. And in that one, it's pictographic. It gives you pictures and explanations. Let's see if we can get that. Let me get both of those up there for you, because this is good reading material. And if you follow this one, just happens to be the one that I have been on. So let's get up and let's Google that. We'll 200 proofs. PROOFs. We already, hold on a minute. We already have a conflict of interest here. Push the wrong key. 200 proofs. THE, Earth, EARTH, is not a spinning ball. Okay? Now, one thing I want to talk to you about before, we're going to go there in a minute. We're going to do this right now. But one thing I want to share with you is that if you Google, is the Earth flat, all you're going to come to, you're not going to come to any Eric DUBAY videos. You're not going to come to anybody that knows the Earth is flat. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get every, what they call, every government shill, but you're going to get every Flat Earth denier video, and you're also going to get people like Joe Rogan. Here we are, Eric DUBAY's 200 Proofs the Earth is not a spinning ball. This is a pictorial. Now, I am sure I could play Eric's videos, on here. He knows who I am. Not that we had one brief conversation about, actually we had the brief conversation about the skull and bones being on the $1 bill. So let's get this up here. The earth is not a spinning ball. Let's get the link up there. Put those two things in the search box, but then we'll copy everything in the search box to expedite this, and then we're going to go over here, and we're going to put this over here. So this is reading material for what I call the profane, and that's what, if you are a Mason, if you are a member of the Illuminati, if you are a member of the Club of 300, we, in general, are the profane. Now, there's a gentleman here named 32 who is a Mason. And that's what his name 32 stands for. So the Masons have a tendency to believe that they have secret and sacred knowledge. But you might have to spend 20 years of your life to get that knowledge that I got in a couple of months from other people, because we didn't do tit for tat. The man just spilled it out on the table years ago. So let's read the report. The report says, this report documents the derivation and definition of linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. And this is a NASA publication. The derivation, it basically means it's a summary, which is, here's the word summary, makes no assumptions or reference trajectory or vehicle symmetry. The linear system equations are derived and evaluated along a general trajectory and include both aircraft dynamics and observation variables. So aircraft dynamics can be a crosswind, a low pressure area, the dynamics of the flaps, rudder, ailerons. Those are the dynamics of the aircraft, the moving parts, and observation variables. Okay, so now we go to the introduction. Now, and then I'll have a question and answer period. And if you guys don't want to ask questions, I'll just give you a brief dissertation on why they do this. Okay, so the need for linear models of aircraft for the analysts of vehicle dynamics and control law design is well known. So in other words, what they're saying, a pilot needs to have proper input in order to know how to fly. Without saying that, that's what this means. In other words, without the general knowledge of flight theory, and the dynamics of flight, you cannot negotiate all the variables while flying. These models are widely used, not only for computer applications. So these, when it says they're widely used, they're used in the Air Force, they're used in the Marines, the Navy, the Army, anything that flies for the United States government and world governments are using these same, what they call derivations. They're using the same basic rules of flight, because flight doesn't change if you're flying in Russia or America or any of over a desert. The only difference, the only thing that changes is moisture and temperature and different wind speeds. And we're going to talk about the rotating, the fact that the Earth cannot be rotating And anybody that wants to disprove it, you're going to be welcome to ask a question. Not only for computer applications, these models are widely used. In other words, they are used everywhere. Not only for computer applications, but also for quick approximations and desk calculations. Or desk calculation with a computer would be final. Whereas the use of these models is well understood and well documented. In other words, whoever is reading this flight manual or these ways to negotiate flight is well understood and well documented. This isn't something that they just came up with, what they call willy-nilly. Their derivation is not. The lack of documentation and occasionally understanding of derivation of linear models is a hindrance to communication, training, and application. This report details the development of linear model of a rigid aircraft of a constant mass flying over a non-rotating flat Earth. Non-rotating Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. Let me zoom in on that. This is NASA now. Don't make any mistake. This is not something that someone just wrote and put on the internet. This is the flight manual from NASA. Where are we here? Flat. See that word flat? F-L-A-T. Non-rotating flat Earth. This is from NASA. This is not American Airlines. This is not Michael Fazio theory. This is NASA. So let's, for those of you who are just coming in, this is NASA reference material, publication 1207, and the link, I'll just post that link again in the description box, and then you guys can follow this. This is real, and this is why. This is what they don't want you to understand. Now, they have other reasons for you not to understand this. It destroys, well, it would destroy your belief that the government is telling you the truth about anything, basically. They lie about a lot of stuff. Didn't they lie about weapons of mass destruction? I do believe they did. And didn't we kill about, I don't know how many people died during the Iraq and Iran wars and Gaddafi and all of that country takeover. I have no idea about that. I don't remember the numbers. It's not something that America should be very proud of, but certainly it happened, and certainly multiple millions of people died because Dick Cheney and the other guy that looks like my Uncle Aldo, could be his twin brother. They're both dead now, but he said that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Bush said it. Cheney said it. And there's a guy that looks like my uncle's twin. We all thought it was my uncle for a while. That's how close he was to looking like him. Donald something. I forgot his name. Okay, so I'll read this again. I'll read the whole paragraph. The need for linear models of aircraft for analysis of vehicle dynamics and control or design is well known, period. These models are widely used, not only for computer applications, but also for quick approximations and desk calculations, period. Whereas the use of these models is well understood and well documented, their derivation is not. The lack of documentation and occasional Occasionally, understanding of derivation of linear models is a hindrance to communicate training and application. So in other words, what they're saying, if you don't know the information that they're trying to give you, it could be a hindrance, so you have to go back and study, do more research. This report details the development of linear model. This report details the development of the linear model of rigid aircraft of constant mass, comma, flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. This model consists of a state of equation and an observation or measurement equation. So in other words, this model that they're giving you in this report is based on fact. The system equations have been broadly formulated to accommodate a wide variety of applications. So helicopter, gliders, jets, and reciprocating engines, and so on and so forth. Where are we here? Wide variety. The linear state equation is derived from the nonlinear, now this is important, the nonlinear 6th degree of freedom equations of motion. That means all of you people have been brainwashed to believe the Earth rotates. If the Earth rotated, the word they use, the fraudulent concept of, which is known as the Coriolis effect, does not exist. However, they made a point of not saying the Coriolis effect does not exist. They said the system of equations has been broadly formulated to accommodate a wide variety of applications. Here is where it says the Coriolis effect does not exist. It's fictitious without saying it. The Coriolis effect is for the profane, the uninitiated, the people with a lower IQ that have never done any research. Here we are, that this says the Coriolis effect does not, and I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll give you an example, that this says the Coriolis effect does not have anything to do with flying an airplane, shooting a rifle, launching a shell out of a cannon or a cannonball. Nothing does the Coriolis effect actually interfere with, because it doesn't exist. You'll see it in movies. You'll see it, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Neil deGrasse Grasse and the science guy are always talking about the Coriolis effect. The Earth is if the Earth was rotating, then there would be a Coriolis effect, but it doesn't. And here is proof from NASA. The linear state equation is derived from the non-linear 6th degree of freedom equations of motion. The linear observation equation is derived from the collection of non-linear equations representing state of variables. Time derivatives of state of variables, control inputs and flight path, air data, and other parameters. The linear model is developed about a nominal trajectory that is general. You people have to know about flight dynamics in order to understand what they're talking about. Most of you people do not. But this is a direct quote from NASA, this sentence right here, from non-linear 6th degree of freedom equations of motion. Now, I'll explain that to you in brief. Okay. The Coriolis effect is a story. It's fictitious. It doesn't exist. The Coriolis effect says that you have to understand, you people have been brainwashed since birth. The Coriolis effect says the Earth is spinning from east to west, actually. Should be this way, where I'm sitting. So the Earth is spinning, and the Earth is rotating at 1,000 1,038 miles per hour, which is nonsense. But the Coriolis effect would mean that if a rifle was fired straight and the earth was spinning and it took 2 seconds to reach its target, the target would no longer be here. I'll mark it. You guys need diagrams because you're not so smart. That's the truth. Okay, so if the earth was spinning, the earth is not spinning. If the earth was spinning and someone shot a rifle at this target that you see here, and it was spinning 1,038 miles per hour, and you shot the rifle now, and 3 seconds later, the bullet was supposed to hit the target, you would have to compensate for the earth rotating a certain amount of feet. It would be impossible without a computer attached not only to the gun, forget about attaching the computer to the gun, because the earth is spinning at 1,038 miles per hour at the equator. What they call the equator, which does not exist either. But if you were up, that's at zero. That's at zero. The equator is zero. If you were up at the 30th parallel, well, the earth, if you had a computer that was set at the equator and you shot a projectile at the equator, the earth would move, let's say it would move this much, because the earth is spinning very fast at the equator. 1,030. The computer would have to be attached to the gun, look at the target, judge the distance, figure out the time to the target. Hey, Jack, good afternoon. Figure out the time to the target and adjust your sights on the gun, maybe up or down or sideways or both. Take into consideration how far the earth spun. But that computer would have to have a GPS coordinate on it, that if you were not at the equator and you were at the 20th parallel, the 20th longitude, not parallel is vertical, the longitude at 20 degrees longitude, now the computer would have to adjust. If the earth moved from here to here at the equator, at the 20th parallel the earth would only move to here, because it's moving slower. So you would have to have a computer system hooked up to GPS to know exactly where you were standing on this fictitious, round, rotating earth. And it would have to know where your weapon was, what you were shooting at, and how long it was going to take to get to the target to tell you where to shoot. It's not possible. They don't have a computer on the end of every long-distance rifle. They don't have computers in rifles. The people that shoot the weapons are not familiar at all with how much variable would be between the equator and the 20th longitudinal axis, because it doesn't exist. They're not taught that. It's already been proven by the Navy, by the Air Force, the Marines. Early on in the 19th century, the British Navy, and many other people have done this hundreds of times all over the world for thousands of years. The Navy, the British Navy, took a cannon and shot it straight up. And it was 14 seconds of ascending up 14 seconds and 14 seconds descending. Theoretically, the cannonball should have landed a few hundred feet away from the vertical position, but it didn't. Most times it landed within 2 or 3 feet of the cannon, only changed by wind velocity. And sometimes the cannonball landed back inside the barrel of the cannon, which proved there is no rotation of the earth. But they also did, and this is the part of the sentence of the paragraph where it says 6 degree of freedom equations of motion. The 6 degree of freedom equations of motion are vertical, downward, upward, downward, and then north, east, south, and west. That equation is 0 at all times, in all ways, in all countries, in all parts of the flat earth, because the earth is a stationary, non-moving, flat plane. You people think that I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. You people, the problem with most people out there that don't understand what I'm talking about is your lack of education. Most people just went through high school at 4 periods a day without any theory. I was gifted to go to an aviation high school, 10 periods a day. 10 from day one, 10 periods a day. Freshman 10, sophomore 10, junior 12, senior 12. And then I took classes after school for different things. Welding, heliarc, MIG and TIG, flight theory, and also I did I did exploded view mechanical drawing because I wanted aircraft architectural and blueprint, the creation of aircraft blueprints, exploded views. We covered that briefly in my drafting class, but I wanted to get good at it, so to show you a view of an engine exploded in all different, using a 60-degree protractor mostly. So this is the Coriolis effect. If the British Navy, they took this cannon and they shot straight up the cannonball, whatever the ball weighed, 15 pounds, let's say, and it went straight up. Most times the cannonball fell right next to the cannon or sometimes back into the barrel. Now, had there been a Coriolis effect, or had the earth been rotating, then the ball would be several hundred feet to the left or right. That guy Felix Baumgarten, the man who did the Red Bull jump from 120,000, I don't know the number, but he did the highest free fall flight, Felix Baumgartner, and in theory, had he jumped out off the balloon platform that he was on, and it took him, I'm not sure how many minutes, but in theory, he landed virtually where he took off from. If the earth was rotating and it took him 7 minutes, I think it was. I'm not sure if someone wants to throw it up on the screen. Felix Baumgarten, the Red Bull thing. If the earth let's just say the earth rotated, it took him 7 minutes to get down from where he jumped off. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do something really fantastical. He did. But if it took him 7 minutes to descend, each minute of descent, the earth would have rotated 19 miles at 1,038 miles per hour. Each minute Felix descended, he would have been 19 miles off of his takeoff, the initial place where he took off. So if it took him 7 minutes, it would be 7 times 19, or 131 miles, yeah? 7 times 9, 9 times 7 is 63, and 70 would be 133 miles. He would have been 133 miles off his target if it took him 7 minutes. 7 times 9 is 63. 63 plus 70 is 133. He'd be 133 miles off his target, but he was just a few hundred feet or 1,000 feet off the bullseye, the red bullseye. You people don't get it. They show it to you every day that the Earth doesn't rotate. That in and of itself should have been enough evidence that the Earth is not rotating. And in addition to that, when he first opened up the door, if you go online and you look up the world record jump for Felix Baumgarten, I think that was his name. It's close to that. Not exactly. I don't remember the details on stuff like that. I remember the details of what I need to remember. So, had he not opened up the door and left a camera running that did not have a curved lens on it, a GoPro camera, by the way, it was not a GoPro camera. It did not have a curved lens on it or fisheye lens on it. And his initial opening of the door, which was caught by billions of views before they caught it and removed it, was the Earth being flat and no curvature on the Earth. Now you can look that up. So he proved two things that day. He proved that the Earth is not rotating, and he opened up the door. Apparently they forgot the camera that was inside the vehicle that brought him up into low Earth orbit was a regular camera without a curved lens on it. It was inside, and I guess they were interviewing him or watching him prepare. I don't know what they were doing. I don't watch that part. I'm not even interested in that part. He opened up the door, and you see the Earth being a plane. That's true. That's true. So what is going on here is that you're being lied to. But they're showing it to you and putting it in your face. I got to go back to the... Now, the rest of this article, for those of you who can read and comprehend, you got to understand something also. If you don't have any kind of reading comprehension ability, and most of you people do not have any grasp of the English language at all, because you didn't have a proper education. Now, a proper education was originally the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But now they teach so much garbage in school that you spend half your life learning stuff that's completely useless and false doctrines. But we won't get into that. 32, good day. So, I didn't forget about you. But 32, I'm going to just make note. 32, you have a beautiful house, lot, 8,000 square meters for sale. You have pictures of the lanai, the yard, the animals. How is it that you want me to present this? What 32 has a big piece of property. I forgot the name of the town that he's in. You want to post that? The name of the town? You can do that. Let me get back to my... Hold on, where am I here? I got to get back here. Flat Earth, okay. 32 has a big piece of property, not in Dumageddon, but near Dumageddon. Do you want me to post the link? Yeah, Stephen, I'll get to that in a few minutes, but if I don't get to it in a few minutes, just remind me, okay, Stephen? Thank you. That's a good question. All right, I'm waiting for 32's response, because 32... Would you like me to post the link so that they can get in touch with you? You're welcome, Stephen. Would you like me to post the link? I can do that for you. I can post the link. I just have to go to my mail. And so he has a beautiful piece of property with 13 pictures attached to a website. And he wants to rent the house, but also if the house is for sale, you can work that out with him if he wants to sell the house. But he does have a beautiful piece of property on 8,000 square meters. So I'll wait for your answer, and I'm going to go back to, I just wanted to go back to the comments for a moment. And now I can't get this YouTube stuff, boy. Boy, is Google screwing up. Why is this here? Why is this thing here? Why is that there? I don't ask for that. Jeez. I can't get it off of there. Okay, I'll refresh the page. Hey, Dennis Adam. Hello. My friend Dennis, hold on a minute. I'm refreshing the page. This garbage. Okay. Now I can't change the color. Hello, Dennis. Thank you for stopping by. I have to say it loud because Dennis has a hearing impediment. Thank you for stopping by, Dennis. Hello, I'll just write it down. I don't even know that he can hear me. I can't hear me, believe it or not. So I'm going to wait for my page to refresh. Man, I've had so much trouble with... Oh, by the way, we have water while the computer is coming back on refreshing the page. 15 days. No water. 15 days. I had rainwater to wash with, which is okay because I put bleach in it. But you have to collect the rainwater. And the rainwater is got mosquitoes and dust from the tree, leaves and stuff in it. 15 days. They left us with no water for 15 days. Computer is coming back on refreshing the page. Hold on. 15 days. No water. Okay, Dennis, 15. Thank you. 15 days. I had rainwater to wash with. This is absolutely absurd. It took a minute for a page to refresh. It's absolutely insane what Google is not giving us the... Which is okay because I don't know. Bleach in it. It's not Google. They're not... Globe is not giving me the data that I pay for. I pay for high-speed internet, and it's just not giving me the data that I pay for. Okay, we're going to read... "32 says, I would hope you would have a watcher go through you and when you then give them my email. So that way I would reward that." I work, well, until Daisy comes back, which should be shortly, I I don't have like a third person to watch this stuff. I'm just like a little one-man operation here. I don't watch it. Maybe you could put that. I don't have anybody. I don't have a third party to. I'm not gonna. Okay, so why don't. Well, let's find out what town it's in. What town is it in? Let's see. Tanjay City. Okay, home. I'll put it up there. 32 has is selling his home. Okay, let me just put it up there. In Tanjay City, and I'll give out the details. Okay, Tanjay City, 32. All right, 32. Boy, I should have put down contact. If anybody's interested in buying a property in the Philippines, in Tanjay City, I don't even know where that is. It's for sale or rent. 32. 32 has HAS. 32 has home for sale. See, this is in Tanjay City. So if any one of my subscribers is interested in talking with 32 about this, you can leave a message. He gave me his email. Maybe one day what I'll do, 32, is I will so that's a cheap price, $300 a month. That's really cheap. Maybe one day what I'll do is for you, I'll how about I do a live stream and I'll go through your email and I'll post your website and I'll show them the pictures of your house. Do you want something like that? Okay, that sounds good. Okay, but not today. But in the meantime, maybe at the end of this, but I should probably do a separate video like that to give the people an idea of what you can buy in the Philippines or rent for 15,000 pesos a month. That's a good price for all of that land. And then they could raise chickens and ducks, pheasant. They could raise anything they want. So that's a good price. So if you guys are interested, 32, do you have a YouTube page? I don't know. I guess you do, right? Let me, I'll tell you what I could do right now. I'm going to go right to your YouTube page, and I'll give them your YouTube page and address, and they can contact you. I don't want to have, I don't want to be an intermediary other than the fact that I pass out your information. I won't go to your page now. I don't know what's going on with. I have a lot of windows open on the screen, I'll tell you that. I have probably, I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 plus videos on the screen. Moving back to the flat earth hollow moon. Now you people have been deceived since birth with this stuff. You're not getting it. You people just don't understand how much they've 32 says he would rent the farm for 8,000 pesos a month and the home for 15. So that's 23,000 pesos a month, about $475. Okay, Stephen, you're right. You're right. So Stephen has a question, so I'll answer the question. Okay. Now, when I originally wrote my book, Angels on the Ark by Michael Fazio, it's a real book. It's an e-book. So I think it's $3 on the internet now. I sell. I wrote the book back in 2010, published it April 15th. It's 602,000 words. I wanted to prove that a higher power, God, aka God itself, put the pictographs on the dollar bill. My research going back into the 70s, into the New York Public Library, into the basement of the New York Public Library, brought me to books that were hundreds of years old. See, back in the 70s, when I first started down the esoteric path, so to speak, you were allowed to go into the basement of the New York Public Library and do research. You didn't have to be a researcher or a college professor or show college ID or anything. You could just go down into the New York Public Library, tell them what you were looking for. The woman would look it up on an index card, and she would walk you down to the basement. And there's like 5, 6, I don't know how many subfloors there are, multiple subfloors in the New York Public Library. So, and each floor has metal shelving, air conditioned, no humidity, and you could take the book off the shelf that she would bring you right to the book that you wanted. And they had books that only existed in several copies, one in the New York Public Library, maybe one in the library in Russia, maybe one in Germany, and the copy, or they were handwritten, some of these books, but they gave you information that you'll never see publicized now. Now you can't even get access to the New York Public Library basement facility because you have to be a college professor with a theory that you want to prove. The regular people can't go in there. But when I was 17 years old, 18 years old, I had free access to the whole, anywhere I wanted in the New York Public Library. They won't do that anymore. You have to have ID, verification that you're studying a topic and that you are doing research for a school. But anyway, my original concept was to prove that whatever created the pictographs on the dollar bill was God, okay, or a higher power, okay, because I always knew that the Catholic Church, quote unquote, the Vatican, Christendom, was a falsehood, not real. It's run by the Illuminati, it's run by the Jesuits, and it's run by the Masons. Even the Rothschilds play a large role in what comes out of the Catholic Church. And that was simple enough to prove because in the Bible it says the Club of Rome, which is the Catholic Church, will be responsible for false doctrine. So it's in the Bible that they profess. But also, you have to understand that on the dollar bill, and this is true, it's not what I wanted to do today, though, but I'll show you something that I have here. I don't know where I put it. It's not something, I just threw it over to the side the other day. On the dollar bill, there are thousands of little pictures. Thousands, not hundreds, thousands. So this is actually the original dollar bill that I used for my book. So this is what is known as the God Pod, what I call the God Pod, G-O-D-P-O-D, because everything in this circle, everything in this compass, which has 2 lines around the outside, an inner and outer barrier, by the way. Everything in this compass has to do with life. Everything in what is called the evil seed of death, The evil seed of death is the one with the eagle in it. Everything in the evil seed of death, the eagle pod, has to do with death. There's nothing that has to do with life in here. The eagle has claws for ripping and tearing and shredding flesh. The eagle is a killing machine that attacks from the rear, aka the United States government. And when you turn it upside down, it becomes an Indian chief with 32 feathers, which represent the Masons. 32 feathers on one wing and 33 feathers on the other wing. It's all documented, so you could take my word for it, or you could get a high-powered lens and check it out yourself. So 32 feathers are on one. So 32 feathers are on one wing and 33 are on the other, representing the 32nd and 33rd degree Mason. So if you were raised in a Blue Lodge, like myself in 32, then you would understand what I just said. If you were not raised, then you are part of the profane, which is a separate topic altogether. So in and of itself, this Indian that you see before you, it looks like an Indian because it has a headdress on. But in the talons of what was the eagle a minute ago, in the sinister claw are the arrows. In the dexter claw is a bough or bow of olive branch. And a bow or bough can be spelled B-O-W or B-O-U-G-H. So you have a bow and you have arrows. And you have an Indian chief with a headdress on and feathers that go down to the floor. Not a coincidence, all of this stuff. It was all put there, but not by anything human as we know. So I wanted to prove the existence of God. What I came to the conclusion is that what put this stuff on the dollar bill, these pictographs on the dollar bill, also had the ability to go laterally over to the Bible. And this God pod here, the first 17 verses of the Bible in the book of Genesis is the 17 pictographs that are most duly noted in the God pod. Yes, that's true. And in the beginning there was a void. The circle and the compass would be the void. And then therefore, thereafter, God said, let there be light, and there is light. And then God said, let there be grass amongst the dirt underneath the pyramid. He didn't say pyramid, but then there was life, and let there be water. Let there basically underneath the pyramid is a body of water. And behind the pyramid is a desert. But water can also be a desert. You can have a desert of water. Because you people don't understand the definitions of the words. Desert does not signify only dry dirt or sand. You can have a water desert. You can have a sand desert. But anyway, that's what I mean about the profane. You don't have an understanding of the words, but not necessarily the words that are used in the Bible have nothing to do with the words that are used today. So if, for instance, I said that the light was white, well, light is white, but it can also be yellow. And 3,500 years ago, when the words were written in the Bible, the word gold, G-O-L-D, yellow, and white were interchangeable. So if you don't know that, you're going to be looking in the wrong place for an answer for a question that you may have that has to do with biblical terminology. I can't educate you. I can't do that. You have to do that for yourself, and for most of you, it's too late. You've spent your entire life screwing off. That's your problem, not my problem. In the sinister, in the evil seed of death, everything in the evil seed of death is death. You have the Indian war chief, he's the chief of the tribe. He's in charge of making war. But you also have, if you turn it upside down, you have the commander-in-chief. Because you have the shield of the United States government. It's pictographs. It's not a story. It's not words written down to mean what they mean. It's a pictograph. This pictograph, these pictographs are thousands of years old. The words in the Bible, supposedly the Bible was written and completed during, I think it was Constant, in the year 325. That's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. Somebody dictated the Bible thousands of years ago, and then later on, the scribes wrote the Bible. You can believe what you want, but the same way we're being lied to by NASA, that says the Earth is round, and they can somehow circumnavigate the Earth with spaceships. Getting on to Stephen's question, why are they doing this? They're doing it because whatever wrote the Bible, whatever made the pictographs on the dollar bill, is God-like. I forgot who said it, but if you look at advanced technology, that is very advanced technology, it looks like magic, or the concept of God. They don't want you to believe in God, Stephen. They want you to believe in this nonsensical, that makes no sense. It can't be proven. It's never been proven, and that's why they call it the theory of evolution. They also call the Big Bang theory. Because it's not the Big Bang fact. It's a theory. It's not provable. It's not even realistic. How did all the known particles in the known universe and all the known matter in the entire universe, how did that coalesce into something the size of a pinhead and then blow up and create life? Now, Philippines said the other day, when I was talking about, in order for life to have been created, you need 100,000 variables to come together in perfect order in order to create one cell. And Philippines said the word mitosis. But that cell will die off immediately unless it has another 100,000 backup amino acids, RNA codes, positive RNA codes, negative RNA codes, LDCs, all that other stuff. So if one cell ever did form by accident, it would be the equivalent. This is how there is no chance of a cell ever forming from the natural elements in the universe. They've tried this in laboratories. 15 years. Tens of millions of dollars to create life from the cosmic goo. They call it the primordial goo. What was available to create life on Earth with, they say 4 billion years ago, whatever, 4 billion, 3 billion. They can't get a story straight about when Andrew Tate got arrested. There's 250 different variable stories. He got arrested. It's factual. There's police reports. And there's 250 stories. You think that you're going to believe something from 4.5 billion years ago because some clown named the science guy said it? No, they're lying to you. They don't want you to understand that life could not have come from the Big Bang Theory. But that's what they want you to believe created life. The theory of evolution. There is zero, absolutely no proof at all that the theory of evolution exists. Because there's no transition at all from a fish fossil to an alligator or a crocodile or a lizard. There is no skeletal remains of any amphibious creature coming out of the ocean. Where did they come from? There is no fossil remains. There were fossil remains of fish, and there was fossil remains of alligators and crocodiles, and there's fossil remains of other things, nautilus. There's fossil remains, but there's no transition of how a fish turned into a crocodile or an alligator, or a bird, an avian. There's no transitionary skeletal remains. It doesn't exist. Even Darwin, when you read his research, and I have, said that at the end of the day, it's a theory. It's not fact. And they present it as fact because they don't want you to believe that there's a God. And that there's a God. If there's a God, then there's a right and wrong. And if there's a right and wrong and you've been lied to by the government since birth, well, that's not good for their business. And their business is war. Their business is death and destruction. It's not good to have that kind of a reputation. So they don't want you to believe in God. But is there a God? Well, there's a higher power. And that is what I always knew when I wanted to started writing my book, that there's a higher force that does interfere with humanity from time to time in the form of miracles and sometimes speech. Sometimes you find something. It's all true that there's a higher power. They don't want you to believe that, Stephen, to answer your question. They want you to believe the theory of evolution, which is a lie. Therefore, if the theory of evolution is believed, then there is no God. Therefore, we don't have to be honorable. We don't have to be truthful. We're just here and then we go. There's no afterlife. There's no remorse because there's no penalties. That's, in my opinion, first of all, the Masons have this hierarchy. It's a bunch of nonsense, okay? Believe me when I tell you. The people at the higher up, when you're in a lodge, the master of ceremonies, the king clown, the guy who precedes over the procession, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. You talk to these people in real life, they're stupid people, most of them. I'm not kidding you. We had a guy in the Lodge 336 in Tavernier, Florida. The man was an idiot, and he was the head of the lodge. His name was Joe. He was also a lawyer. And he was an idiot. He really was an idiot. I, as the person that taught the symbols, the hand symbols and the letters under low breath, ULB. Okay, so I was the one who was teaching hand signals and the words in the little blue book. I had to hold this guy's hand in order for him to give his speech to become the grand poopah of the lodge. He was an idiot. He couldn't even remember his own words, and he was a lawyer. He was a complete idiot. Something maybe happened to him. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know how he got his law degree. All I knew was that I dealt with him for a while, and on a personal level, I couldn't deal with him at all. And on a professional level, he was an idiot. He was the worst lawyer I ever met in my life. And you would tell him what to read and what to research, and he would research something else. And he'd say, I have the the summation of the research, and I would say, that's not what I told you to read. Well, I read it. You should have wrote it down if you didn't want me to read it. Well, he made a mistake. And he charged me for reading the paper and writing a summary and a reply, and it was only argument. And then there was a problem with that as well. But the lawyers are not infallible. But so Joe was an idiot, and he became the grand poobah of the lodge. They don't want, and now they keep throwing this in front of you. If you become a 33rd degree Mason, if you become Scottish rites, or they want you to go Scottish rites or the other direction, and then you're going to learn the big secret eventually. There is no big secret. What do you want me to Google? What do you want me to Google? Let me finish my thing. You can write down what you want me to Google. I don't know. So they want you to believe that at the end of the day, there's some big secret. And you can learn that from anybody that teaches the esoteric philosophies, that knows about the true esoteric nature of the universe. You can learn about that by listening to somebody like Alan Watts, okay, I'll do that in a minute. If I don't, remind me. So you can, you know, Alan Watts. Alan Watts knew the esoteric nature of the universe. Now, he has hundreds of speeches, 1-hour speeches that he gave when he lived in Sausalito, California. He lived on a boat. But also, Edgar Cayce, he was a true seer, and he told us in his lifetime thousands of things that turned out to be true. Now, I went into a state of heightened awareness back in the 70s on several different occasions, and when I looked at the Sphinx, I was talking to a friend of mine that was also in a heightened state of awareness. We came to the conclusion that there was chambers underneath the Great Sphinx. The Sphinx, not the Sphinx. They got that mixed up. They call it the Great Sphinx because they're changing history. It's the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid. But they're changing words and what words mean on YouTube vernacular and also in history books. It's the Sphinx. But we agreed that there were other chambers inside the Great Pyramid and that there was a huge chamber underneath the Sphinx. Now, we didn't have access to the internet. We didn't have access to any news article that said that. We didn't have access to any of that, yet we knew that it existed. And I spoke with my mentor, Norm Tolson, and he said he agreed. How did I come to that information? I said, well, it's just, I know it's there. And he said, you're right, but no one will ever see it, because he worked for the government. So he knew. So they don't want you to know the truth. Now, just last week, there was a video on YouTube that said they found chambers underneath the Sphinx. But they found these chambers back 30 or 40 years ago. But they only just came out and published it as fact a few years back. But I knew this back in the 70s from what we call natural knowing, or universal consciousness, or cosmic consciousness. So you people don't understand what's really going on in this world, and they're not going to let you understand what's going on in this world. They want you to remain in a state of stupor due to alcohol and drugs and 1-minute worthless TikTok videos, which they don't allow in the Philippines, thank God. But they want to keep you dumbed down so that you never know what they're doing. You want to see how dumbed down you people are? You watch politics, right? I don't. Because you get a liar, a completely worthless, two-faced hypocrite. You're going to know his name when I mention it. Trey Gowdy, prosecutor in the O.J. Simpson case, I think he was. Now he's an orator. And Jeannie Perdue, or Judge Janine, they are frauds. They are complete frauds, as is all of these orators that you see going before Congress going, is it true? Including Ted, whatever that guy's name is it true that you, Mr. Fauci, subsidized money in the Wuhan School of Dance? Is it true that you subsidized money for research for the splitting of the atom? He's the head of the CDC, or medical, Fauci. He's a liar. He goes, I don't have that information. I'll have to get back to you on that. But you're the head. Did you dole out money to the Wuhan laboratory? I don't have that information, but thank you for the question. I'll get back to you on. They are jerking you around. You're never going to get the truth. That other guy, I forget the guy's name. What a fraud. He's the son of the man who ran for president a long time ago. And they make him out to be a famous guy. I have this report before me, and in this report it says that you, Dr. Fauci, were part of, on the board of doling out money to the Wuhan facility of dance. Did you give the people in Wuhan money to go dancing? Good morning, Mike. Did you give those people money? And Dr. Fauci says, well, I don't know. We'll have to check on that. My recollection is not so good. He knows the answer to the question, but he doesn't have to answer the question. So he doesn't. And meanwhile, they all get away with this. And meanwhile, Trey Gowdy, Ron Paul, that's it, Ron Paul. He's the biggest of all the frauds, all of them. Nothing has ever been levied in lieu of fines against Dr. Fauci for any kind of possible illegal research. Nothing. Thousands of hours have been spent grilling through the documents that Dr. Fauci had for the School of Dance in Wuhan, China. And nobody ever answered the question whether Dr. Fauci gave Wuhan money for a certain type of dance recital. Nobody. But Ron Paul sits up there. You know that Ron Paul makes more than $2,000 a day to sit there and ask him questions that he doesn't answer? Ted Cruz also, he's another bum. Trey Gowdy, another bum. Judge Jeannie, another bum. They're all frauds. They all sit there, Judge Jeannie. I was a judge, and if you were, nothing would happen. If you were in charge, nothing would happen. More of nothing would happen. It would just be your big mouth talking about what would happen, and then when you get to become in charge, nothing is going to happen, because you're going to get somebody like Dr. Fauci up on the stand, and he's going to go, I saw you gave money to the dance recital in Wuhan. Is that true, Judge Dr. Fauci? And Judge Jeannie's going to be sitting there with all her lipstick and her makeup and 36,000 facelifts, asking questions to Dr. Fauci if he did this, and he's going to say, Judge Jeannie, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I'm going to have to talk to my staff. I don't remember. We're not sure where that... Nothing ever gets done. The whole system is corrupt. It always has been. And as corrupt as the system is, that's the way they like it. So now, the 300th anniversary of Freemasons UK, then click images. All right, so Nobody wants to tell you the truth. They don't want to admit that there's a God. They don't want to admit that they know it exists, but they don't want to admit it. So, because if you believed in God, and the concept of God being an all-knowing and benevolent being, if you believed in God, then you would see that they're lying. Maybe people would have a negative response to that because we're being lied to, yet every April 15th, come hell or high water, we have those documents to fill out. And mandatory. Oh man. I'm waiting for it to pop up on the screen, 32. 300 years of Freemasonry. Yeah, there's so many articles. You want to tell me which one you're interested in? It's really not my topic. I don't know why you keep trying to get me to go off the topic, unless it has something to do with the round earth. Images. Okay, images. Images, right that. If this is not directly related, yeah, this is not related to the round earth. I see a dollar bill here. The Masonic Lodge, I know all about that. This is all nonsense, by the way, 32. All these people, they're all frauds, liars, thieves, and criminals, by the way. All of them. And I'm not supposed to say that, remember? Never talk bad about a brother Mason. Every Mason I ever met was a liar and a scammer. Everyone that I ever did business with tried to get me to work for them for nothing, with the promise that something beneficial would happen in my near future. But they never wanted to be the one to pay me for it. I'm gonna move out of that. Okay, back to earth. I agree. It's all rotten to the core. Every Mason, I'll tell you people, I don't care that they hear me. I never care. I don't care. I never cared. I'm never going to care. Every Mason that I did work for, every Mason would lie and deceive with a promise that in the future, if you did this at a discounted price, one day you'll be rewarded. But you're never going to be rewarded. It's never going to happen. That idiot, Joe, who's in charge, who became the Grand Poobah at the Lodge 336, my lodge, that I had to hold his hand through in order to raise up another level, you have to recite a certain amount of words. And he didn't know how to say the words. You don't understand what I'm saying. I had to hold his hand. I was standing next to him, and when he missed the word, I would say, I would say, oh no, you have to say this. I would just say it loud enough for everybody to hear so he could hear it. And then he would say that, and he'd move on to the next sentence. And I knew the words. I was the one that taught the words, but he forgot the words. I had to teach him, I had to tell him the words as we were going through his being elevated to the Grand Poobah. The man was an idiot. And that's what you got running the country. People like him. But anyway, he wanted me to cut a tree down. I wanted $1,500 to cut a limb off a tree over his man cave in his backyard in Tavernier. And I said, yeah, it'd be $1,500. Oh, no, Mike, you don't understand. We're brothers. You know, this should be, maybe we'll give you $300, but one day we're going to give you a big job. Well, you'll give me $1,500 is what you'll give me. Otherwise, I'm not going to do the job. And he ended up paying me $1,200. But that's not the point. The point is another guy wanted custom doors. What I did to that guy. I'm not allowed to do what and I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you what I did to that guy. I embarrassed him. You're not allowed to embarrass a brother Mason in front of other Masons. I did. He wanted custom doors. The doors he wanted were with the frame. The doors, the type of wood, 2 3/4 inch doors for his front entrance to his multi-million-dollar house. The doors and the frame, I think it was $5,000 or $6,000 for the doors, unfinished, no varnish, no lacquer. So this is what the Masons will give you. They give you nothing. They give you promises, and then we'll go back to the flat Earth. I'm just telling you that the Masons it's a fraudulent society. It's rotten to the core, as 32 said. So the doors are $5,000, but the door handles. He wanted door handles. First, I had to get books for the doors, because they didn't have a computer back when I was doing this back in 2001. They didn't have computer images. He wanted books. So I got books from door companies. I just threw them out when I moved here in 2013. Threw out hundreds of books of hardware, and because now you can buy it on the internet, online. So the doors we got, he picked out a set of doors. The lumber company in Key Largo, Bob, the owner's name was Bob. He gave me a price for $5,500 for the 2 doors. So now he wants handles. So now I got to go into the other room for hardware. The guy sold toilets, sinks, and he had books that he had to order for me for the door handles. And he knew I was a contractor, so he gave me the books. Then I bring the books back to Tavernier, which is 12 miles away, and he looks at the books, and then he brings me back to Tavernier. He picked out a set of door handles. The door handles by themselves, only the door handles, were $5,000 US. So they got 5 for the handles, 5 for the doors, 10,500, 11,000 with tax. You got another $200 or $300 in stains and varnishes, because you'd have to put several coats of McCloskey's marine spar varnish on. They have to dry in between, and you have to also polish them down with some 000 steel wool. So I give them a price for $20,000 to put the doors in. Plus, I got to make the opening, by the way. The opening is a single door and an 8-inch poured concrete wall. So I got to cut an opening of, the doors were 42-inch wide doors by 6'10". They were oversized doors. They were not 6'8" doors. And 2 3/4 inch thick rosewood raised panel door, 17 panels to a door. And so, and now I have to, so now I give him a price for $20,000. He goes, what? 20? Now I got like 2 days of running around. Are you crazy? I said, dude, this is the price for the doors is $5,500. The price for the door handles is $5,000. That's $10,000 with the tax, $11,000. You got another $500 in materials. I got to cut a hole. It's $20,000. Do you want it or not? No. I said, well, you owe me for 2 days of my time, because the estimate, if you're not going to do the job, the contract I wrote him up, you have to pay me $150 a day for my estimate, time for my estimate. It's in the contract. It's in the contract he signed. So he goes, send me a bill. So I sent him a bill, put it in the mail, registered mail to his house, and he never paid me. So I called him up on, are you going to pay this bill? Yeah, send me another bill. I'm not going to send you another bill. So I went to the lodge one day and we were talking. I said, I stood up. By the way, that guy over there, and I said his name, that guy over there didn't pay me the money that he owed me. And here is the billing. And I put a copy of the billing down on the table in the middle of the hall where we were in the chamber, in the inner sanctum. I said, here's a copy for anybody. This guy made me run around for 2 days, back and forth to Tavernier, to Key Largo, to get books, to read books, to talk about. It wasn't just, he didn't just pick out a door. He picked out 6 or 7 doors. I had to call up the door companies, long distance phone calls. Well, he got really mad. You're not allowed to talk about a brother like that. I said, okay, I quit. You can't quit, you're a Mason. Yeah, well, I quit. And I quit. And that was it. So I never went back. But they don't want you to know the truth. And the truth is that these people that are behind the lie, the Masons, the Illuminati, the Brotherhood of 300, or the Club of Rome, the Rockefellers, they are liars. They're lying to you. NASA, I showed you the document. NASA agrees the Earth is non-rotating, stationary, and flat. Yet, that document goes out to all military, flight, anything that has to do with flight instructions, they read that document. That document is the God document of flight. The one that I have posted in the beginning of this chat. And I'll post it on in the comments section of the video when it goes back to being public. You don't understand how much they don't want you to believe in God. So that's back to Stephen's question. Why don't they want you to know the Earth is flat? Because if the Earth is flat, and it is, then somebody created the Earth. And it was not God. But what did create the Earth, now remember before I said all philosophers have this, are in agreement with this next statement. If a civilization is advanced enough and they show us something that's amazing, you could possibly perceive it as magic or God doing said event. So, whereas back in 1966 on Star Trek, they had one of these, a thermal imaging device, and they could shoot the thermal imaging device at your hand and show you that the temperature is 33 degrees centigrade by just shooting it at your hand. That was magic. That was not possible. That technology had existed for 10 years or more. It's part of the development of radar from back during World War II. So this thermal imaging device that scans temperature, this would have been considered magic in Star Trek. That was fiction, science fiction. Well, the fact that the Earth is flat, they don't want you to know that, because whatever created the Earth, quote unquote, and put the moon there, the moon, I'm going to go to my next topic in a few minutes. The moon is hollow. NASA Space agrees the moon is hollow. I'll put that article up in a minute. So this technology that you see here would be considered magic even back in 1966. But imagine this technology 200 years ago. It had to be God. Had to be God. Because if knowledge, if something is shown to people that is so far advanced that they can't comprehend it, it's either magic or God. That's what they don't want you to understand. So, this is not God. It's not magic, but it could be magic to a people that's not educated as to how it works, based on mostly laser beams and refraction and reflection. Okay, so this is not God, but it could be considered God by ignorant people. And therefore, when they tell you that the Earth, the moon, the stars, and the universe was created by the Big Bang, there you go. Stupid people believe in that. How does everything in the whole, all of existence coalesce into a pinhead and then blow up and create life? It does not. There is a higher power. They don't want you to know about that higher power. So the Masons, they keep projecting, if you do this, you'll learn the big secret. They call it the Great Secret. I don't know what the Great Secret is according to Masons. I have a theory of what the Great Secret is. I could be right, I could be wrong. But the Great Secret could be that there is a higher power. It's always controlled this flat Earth for billions, not millions of years. They found this parcel of plot of Earth. They made it. They created it. They duplicated it from someplace else. I don't know. But that they run this place. They run this flat Earth. They, whoever they are. And they're not human. And there's thousands of concepts throughout all of history, going back 50,000 years. The Anunnaki, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Atlanteans, all of them. The Great Secret is there is no... Hey, buddy, how you doing? Hey, did you... That's a false doctrine that there's a great secret. You never get to learn. Look, I did that nonsense for a short period of time, a couple of years on and off. But you could be in that, you could devote your whole life to it and never learn the great secret. You got to go to whatever. You got to go to you got to either go here or you got to go there. There's two. You divide. And then they're vying for you. They got pamphlets at the lodge, sitting down in the inner sanctum. You should go to Scottish rites. You should, the other one, the blue, I forget the name of it, the blue law, I forget the name of it. You got to go over here. Now, this is better for you because you, and they sit there and they try to sell you which way to get up to be the highest Mason possible. I don't know at what point you get to know the secret. I don't know where the secret is. Is it the secret that there is a great secret you never get there? Or do you have to be the absolute grand poobah of all Masons? Man. Oh. The Shriners. Right, the Shriners. Oh, they're another group. I love those. I wish I would have. I never was a Shriner. But I always wanted one of those hats with the tassels on it. I always thought they were cool. They would have made a great video. The Masons. So, I don't know what the great secret is. If I did, I would tell you, which is against the rules. Far be it from me to pay attention. I don't care about the rules. So, I thought the great secret was Jesus was black. Oh, yeah, you know, only the 33rd degree Masons can be a Shriner. I never got that far. My father was a Shriner with a small s. He did that on purpose. He doesn't like Shriners. So I noticed that. So I don't know what they don't want to tell you is the truth. He had three fathers. The Fez, right, Fez, that's what it is, Fez. He had 3 fezzes. And that guy that didn't pay me the money, the $300 for the estimate. It was a contract I had with him. When I did that in front of the brothers, Brother Mason, I did that in front of the brother. When I did that in front of the Brother Masons, he goes, now I'm not going to pay you at all. Now you got to sue me. So I wasn't going to sue him for $300. But he never had the doors installed. He never did that job. I went back years later, and he never had the doors installed. It was just him making me run around. But anyway, so yeah, so they don't want you to know. So on 32's channel, do you want me to post your channel? I'm trying to, hold on a minute. Let me, tell me if you want me to post your channel. I'll post your channel. And then people can go to your channel if they're interested in renting or buying your property. I don't have a problem with that. I should have asked you that before. So, yeah, okay, let me go there. I think I could do that. I'm not sure. I think there's those 3 dots. Let's see what that does. I don't see. I pressed the 3 dots to the right. Go to channel. This is going to take a minute, folks. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go to this fella 32. I'm going to go to his channel. And I'm going to give you the link. And he has property, I don't know, somewhere in DUBAY that he wants to rent. He's got the Masonic, the square and the compass on his channel. I'll turn this around in a minute. Okay, so he's got the square and the compass up there. And this is an ancient Greek or Roman statue of some sort. Okay, so very nice. Okay, so he has some videos. Now, if you're interested in renting or buying property in DUBAY, then this is a man who has 8,000 square meters. Of land for sale. You contact him. I don't have anything to do with this. Other than I'm just passing on the information. Okay. You have 2 of the 32 medals. And that, I think the medal that he's talking about is this. Now, if you'll notice, those are the, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, the who, and also the new, you see the leaves? That's the symbol around the United Nations symbol, and it's also the symbol of the flat earth map that designates the flat earth. And those leaves around the number 32 represent the ice wall that circumvents Antarctica. You're welcome. I don't think about stuff like this because it's just not. I'm thinking about other stuff. I'm thinking about the stuff I want to put down, but you're welcome. I'll put this. So 32 has property. Property. DUBAY. 8,000 meters for sale or rent. And there's the channel link. Okay, channel link below. Okay, so let's put this here. Channel link. Channel link below. So 32. 32 should be in brackets or like that. Okay. House, House, and house and farmland. Yeah, I'm not gonna put the price down because you said they variable, and I don't really care what you do there. Okay, so let me turn this around. Let me get let's see, here. I'm going to post it in. I'm going to go post this. I don't know why that won't work. Okay, I'm going to post it in my community page. Also, as a community page. So when I need to find an image for this now. Let's see, what image should I use? I'll use a. I went to a really cool museum in Bohol last. Well, when did I go? Right around January 2nd or 3rd, and well, I can't post pictures from that yet. I have those in my phone. I'll use a lantern. Okay, I'm going back to my my video now. Okay, so that's that. We go back to the flat Earth. So here's. Yeah, that's what I would suggest you do. I would suggest that here's how you do it. You don't even have to make a video of the farm. What you could do is you have a cool website, put the camera on a tripod in front of the computer, show them your Gmail address and the link to the website, which you could put in the description, and then just video the 13 pictures that you have on there as a sample. Or you could go outside and spend an hour doing the same thing, but it's not going to be any better. But if you give them the link, they can see the pictures. If they're interested, they'll get in touch with you. But it could take you an hour or 2 hours of your time to make a video of your property. It's pretty big. Okay, so let's go back over here now. So let's talk about, so we talked about the flat Earth. We talked about why they don't want you to know the Earth is flat, because in the Bible, as much as the Bible is fraudulent, a lot of it is true. And in the Bible it says that the Earth is flat and stationary. In other words, and that the Earth sets upon 4 pillars. I'm not going to go into, I think it's in Deuteronomy, but I'm not real sure. But they are clear as day that the Earth is flat, stationary, and that the planets, sun, revolve around the earth. And they're also clear as to what the stars are. Luminaries. Luminaries are lights. Nothing more, nothing less. So this is something that this is the secret. Now, a little bit of back talk on this, a little bit of back information going back, is that throughout all of time and history, going back 50,000 years into the Arabic countries, all religions, all philosophies, all major concepts of God or a higher power, all of their writings depict the earth as being flat and stationary. There is nobody at all going back thousands of years that believed the earth was rotating, because we'll talk about the rotating earth now and then we'll go over to the moon. The earth is not rotating. You people can, if you have a question for me to disprove your false belief, I will do that. I have no problem doing it. I can do this. I'm just giving you random segments of why the earth is flat and stationary. But you don't have, most of you don't have the education necessary to understand why what I say is true. If the earth is rotating at 1,038 miles per hour at the center of the earth, and we talked about the fact that there is no Coriolis effect, you don't have to compensate. But we didn't talk about the 6 axes of why the earth is flat and stationary. So the British Navy, digressing back, they shot the cannon straight up. The ball fell right next to the cannon. The ball was 14 seconds up, 14 seconds down, 28 seconds of rotation east to west, which is almost a half a minute. The earth is rotating at 1960 times 1960, 19 miles 19 miles a minute. Therefore, the ball should have landed 9.5 miles away. 9.5 miles away. But it didn't. It landed next to the cannon. That's the vertical. They didn't do it downward. Now, if the earth is rotating at 1,038 miles per hour going east to west, and they shot the cannonball from the front of the ship, it should have gone further. If the boat is on the ocean going 1,038 miles per hour, and the cannonball comes out at an unknown speed, the cannonball should say, let's say the cannonball should be 5,000 feet away. But now if they shot the cannon out of the back of the boat's going this way on the earth, it won't be 5,000. It might only be 1,000 feet because the earth is moving. None of that happened. None of it happened. If they shoot north, then the cannonball should be over to the right because the earth is moving this way. If they shoot from this side, then the cannonball should be over to the left because the earth is moving out. None of that happened. It's all documented stuff. Those are the 6 axes that NASA agrees don't exist. And the reason I bring that up is because that's part of flight training. If an aircraft took off from, I'm just going to use Kennedy Airport because I know New York a little bit. If an aircraft takes off going east, and the destination is 2,000 miles away, and the earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and the plane is moving at 1,500 miles an hour, it should take 2 hours to get there. Excuse me, that's wrong. That's wrong. If the Earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour and the plane is moving at 500, in 1 hour, the plane would have traveled 1,500 miles. So you have to take a quarter of that. It would be an hour and 15 minutes. It would take the plane to get 2,000 miles away, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Because the Earth's moving at 1,038, the plane is 500. In 1 hour and 15 minutes, it travels 2,000 miles. If you were going in the opposite direction, and the Earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour that way, and the plane is going 500 miles an hour this way, the plane is not going anywhere, it's going back. It would have to go all the way around the so-called flat Earth. It would never get to its destination. Never get to its destination. Now, moving forward, if you don't understand that, that is the most basic algebra question. It's the train on the tracks moving 10 miles an hour forward, and the man in the train is moving at 10 miles an hour. How fast is the man traveling relative to the ground? He's traveling at 20 miles per hour. If the train is going east and the man is moving west, and the train is going 10 miles an hour and the man is going 10 miles an hour, how fast is the man moving relative to the Earth? 0. It's the same thing with a plane. The Earth is not rotating. Now, there are people that say, well, that's not true because the wind, the air, is moving at the same speed that the Earth is. How is that possible? How is it possible? Somebody want to explain how that's possible? It's not possible. Let me read the comments. It can't be possible. I'll get back to that in a moment. Okay, it's not possible that the wind is spinning the same direction as the Earth and the same speed, because at the equator, the wind would have to be spinning at 1,038 miles per hour. But up around the 78th parallel, maybe the wind should only be spinning at 300 miles an hour. How does it know? How does it change speed? Why would it change speed? Wouldn't the 1,000-mile-an-hour wind pull the 300-mile-an-hour wind with it? Of course it would. In a vortex, it would pull. It would. So, but also, it can't be true, because coming from New York City to the Philippines, they don't go across the ocean. And they don't go across the ocean because they don't want you to know how far it really is from California to the Philippines. There is no direct flight from California or New York to the Philippines. Not when I tried to book a flight. I said, why do I have to go to China? Why do I have to go to Korea? Why do I have to go to Canada? Why do I have to go around near Russia, go past Japan, and come to the Philippines? Why don't they just fly straight across the ocean? Well, because if there was a problem with the plane, they'd be closer to land to fly. Dude, if there's a problem with the plane, which happens once in a million, 99% of that time, they don't make it much more than the problem. There's a problem where Mayday, mayday, mayday. Mayday, mayday, mayday. We're going down. Usually the problem lasts a few seconds. But not only that, they want you to go in that circumnavigation flight path so that at all times you'll have GPS coordinates and cell phone capability, so that you can't prove that there are no satellites in orbit. None. Zero. There is no such thing as a Clark orbiting satellite, or a Clark orbit with a satellite in it. No satellites are in Clark orbit. CLARCK. Satellites do not exist. Satellites are a fictitious, fraudulent concept that NASA charges you billions of dollars to put satellites in space. They don't exist. What they do have are big, giant balloons, stationary, in a stationary, low Earth orbit above the Earth, so that it appears for a satellite phone that there's a satellite, but they do not have satellites in orbit. And that's why they don't drag you across the ocean. Because if they did, 250 miles offshore, all internet connection is lost. Those satellites with the satellite phones are only for a very small, specific group of people. If you want to pay $2 or $3 a minute for a satellite, you can use one of their low Earth orbiting satellites. I lived on the same block as the guy who put them in orbit. Okay? None of them can be used by a cell phone. All cell phone communication, hey Scott, all cell phone communication, I'll get to say hello to Scott momentarily. All cell phone communication in this world that goes, all of what you're watching me in Kansas City, Missouri right now, you are watching me because my image and voice is transmitted to a GPS receiver or a tower, a receiving tower. That tower sends it to another tower, which sends it to another tower, which sends it into a cable, a wire cable. And that cable goes under the ocean from the Philippines to California. And then that goes maybe to New York, fiber optics. Maybe if I want to talk to California, comes out of the ocean, goes up into a tower, and it's beamed to a cell phone in California. No communication from where we are to where you are, from you to me. No communication goes into a orbiting satellite in Clark orbit. No, none, zero. Doesn't happen. That's why they drag you past Russia, China, Korea, and Japan, and they make this big arc, which is 50% more flight time. They say it's for safety reasons. It's not. It's so that they can pretend, because on that arc you're going near land, you could get cell phone tower service. But right now, this communication, telephone, internet, cell phone service, routing data, all of that goes in a cable underneath the ocean, trenched into the bottom of the ocean. All of it, everything, always has. I was on the ship that put the cable, the first cable, across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe, in Key West. It's called the Western Union, WESTERN, Western Union. It's an 1800s wooden vessel. I took my mom on it. I have video of it. I should get that video. Scott, remind me to get that video. I'll post it on my new channel later. Western Union is the ship. Originally, the cable was just laid on top of the bottom of the surface of the ocean. But now they have a machine that trenches it into the dirt a few feet. And the cables now are thick like this. So, but the original Bell Western Union ship that put the first cable across the Atlantic Ocean, the cable was about that big. And it was just a few strands of wire. No, that's my old channel 32. Hoodwinked by an Angel. That's my old channel. Hoodwinked. Oh, you would know. Hoodwinked. Because we have been hoodwinked. That's why I named the channel. Hoodwinked by an Angel. Michael Fazio. Okay, thank you. So, there is no satellites. You people, NASA's charging us $53 million a day to maintain satellites that don't exist. That's why they route you Air France, Canada, and they route you around Korea, China, Russia, and Japan. Because they're lying to you. There is, and 250 miles offshore, if they put the planes across the ocean, you would lose radio signal, cell phone service, unless you had a satellite phone. So they don't have the ability, they don't have enough low Earth orbiting balloon satellites to provide you with the service necessary. That's why they route you around the long way, so you can always maintain touch with a satellite. You go on some places, you lose communication at 75 miles offshore. Either way, there's no satellite service in the middle of the ocean. Everybody knows this. I mean, there's no internet service. The people that go traverse the ocean, they use satellite phones at $2 or $3 a minute. There is no satellites. There never was. There is nothing is orbiting in space. Low Earth orbit, yes. But after that, outside a certain distance, nothing, zero. We've never been there. Scott Del Fuego. Whoa! Whoa, now we're talking. The European store near me had boxes of 24 mild cheddar cheese individually wrapped sticks for $2.49 each on sale. Is that one stick for $2.49? Yeah, that must be one stick, because 24 sticks for $2.49. 2.49. Oh, 2.49 cents. $2.49. Is that $2.49 or 2.49 cents? Nothing costs 2.49 cents. Nothing. Not even a piece of candy is now 2 cents here in the Philippines. Along with 18. Oh, okay. A whole box. Along with 18 large eggs for $9. That's a good price. They are implementing the Great Reset rapidly. So that would be 10 cents per stick. That's a good price. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. So this is why they don't want you to know. They don't. Did you know that there are no satellites? Did you know that all our communication goes via a cable? You can go on YouTube, Google fiber optics cable across the ocean. There's one that they have ships. I'll Google it for you. They have ships with coils of cable this thick, about 8.5 inches thick, with hundreds, if not over thousands of miles of cable wrapped on spools. And then that spool goes to underneath the deck, and then there's 1,000 miles of cable on the spool down below. or hundreds of miles. It depends what ocean they're traversing. And then, when it runs out of cable, another ship comes with more spools, and they bring those spools onto the ship, and they splice them together. And it might take, I don't know how many men it takes, but it's all on YouTube. It's not a secret. So maybe Scott could look up cable layers, intercontinental cables, perhaps it would be. So I don't have to stop, because my next thought is going to be on we left off on the flat earth part of the wind, that people always use the wind. The wind, what I told you about the most basic algebra, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The train goes 10 miles an hour. The man's moving 10 miles an hour, therefore the man is moving. That's basic. This is how in your face this is. The earth does not rotate at all. It's flat and stationary. But water seeks its own level. Thank you, Scott. Water seeks its own level. It never did anything but sought its own level. It can't do anything else. It's the law of fluid dynamics. Thank you very much, Scott. 3 times. Very nice. So, what now? The document that NASA put out on flight, all basic flight procedures for all pilots flying any kind of a rigid aircraft. Anything. Well, I don't know why they use the word rigid. Yeah. Okay, you have a balloon, right? You could use a balloon. No, a balloon would not be a rigid aircraft. Okay, so moving on past that, now you have NASA saying that the Earth is flat and stationary. But what NASA says, the moon is hollow. NASA. Yes, NASA, that they shoot the spaceships up into Earth. And I'll give you only the video. And in the video, I'll tell you what is in the video. NASA, Apollo 13, apparently they jettisoned something off of Apollo 13 and it hit the moon. And the moon rang like a bell. This is NASA, this is not me. This is the mission that goes to the moon, which is nonsense, but somehow they jettisoned this thing off of Apollo 13. All of the Apollo missions is not real. It's not real. But they do agree that the moon is hollow. NASA, it's in the video that I'm going to give you. Now, did they land on the moon? Absolutely not. No man landed on the moon in the Apollo spaceship. Nothing like that ever happened. There's so many proofs that it didn't happen, but people are afraid to say it. Joe Rogan knew. He knew the truth 20 years ago. He knew that we never went to the moon. He was a denier. He knew that we never went to the moon. There was no dust on the landing pads. That by itself, there was no hole underneath the lander with a 10,000 horsepower thrust engine. It didn't make an indentation in the dust under the lander, but people's boots sunk down a half an inch. It's all a farce. But NASA does agree that the moon is hollow. Somebody shot something at the moon and it made an echo. So in this video that NASA agrees that the moon is hollow and that it's happened, they experimented with something else, and then the moon rang like a bell for 3 hours. Oh, I don't know if it's true. All I know is that the moon is not what it appears to be. It certainly coincides with the low ebbing of the tide and high tides. Moon tides are the highest and lowest. That's true. But the moon does not have gravity. How it makes the tides in only saltwater oceans raise and lower, that's a mystery. That's a miracle. That's magic. That's magic. But the moon has no gravity at all. There is no gravity that the moon pulls the tide on only the oceans. Only the oceans. Only the oceans. Only the big saltwater body. It doesn't do anything to the Great Lakes. I spent months on the Great Lakes. I lived on the water on my barge dragon on the Great Lakes. Yes, it does have an effect on the human body. It has an effect on the tides of the ocean. It has an effect on people's emotions. Factoid. Google it. I don't care how you Google it. You can Google it any way you want. More crimes of a violent nature are committed on a full moon than when the moon is not full. More murders, more rapes, more pillaging, more riots are committed on a full moon. Scott would know that because he knows the statistics. I know it. Everybody knows that you are affected by a full moon and a new moon also. But a full moon does affect the tides, but not by gravity. If there is, this is my next topic, gravity. It's a mystical, magical, non-relative lie. Gravity does not exist. What does exist is density. Okay, so when Newton's apple fell from the tree, it landed on the ground. It didn't go through the ground because the apple is less dense than the ground, but more dense than the air. Density is what controls and what you believe gravity is. So if the apple landed in water, it would go down and be semi-submersible. But gravity itself does not exist in nature. Nothing. Gravity itself does not exist in nature. Because if gravity existed and the moon pulled the water of the ocean using gravity towards one side, up or down, or 60 feet in some places, why did it stop at 60 feet up in, I think, Alaska? The tides rise and fall 60 feet. Why didn't the water just come off and go up to the moon? Like a magnet. Because there is no gravity. Something in the moon, controls the rise and fall of the oceans. Something in the moon controls human emotions, but it's not gravity. If gravity existed based on mass, the mass of an object, then therefore, if you amassed, A-M-A-S-S-E-D, if you amassed enough metal, 1,000 tons of metal, easy. They have many objects that are 1,000 tons. And you took a BB, some small object, a needle on a thread, and you put the needle on the thread near the 1,000 tons. Then the needle should want to be attracted to the mass if there was gravity, because enough mass, metal, supposed to be the core metal of the earth, and that's what causes gravity. If you put 1,000 tons of metal next to a needle, the needle should want to move a little bit. It only has to move a little bit from being plumb, P-L-U-M-B. It only has to move a fraction of an inch. And then you put 2,000 tons or 3,000 tons, it might move 1/10 of an inch. Doesn't do that. Gravity does not exist. The moon does not have gravity. It has a force, but no one knows what the force is. Maybe that's the great secret. The great secret is the force that controls the tides. Who knows what? The great secret is that over the ice shelf in Antarctica, there are the people that control the things, the beings, the aliens, the space people that control this world, they live over there on the other side of the ice. Maybe that's the great secret. The great Masonic secret is that the United Nations says you can't go to the ice shelf, but if you could go to the ice shelf, you'd get shot down by military aircraft. But if you could get past that, then you would find out where the aliens live. I don't know what's over there. All I know is that they don't want you over there because they don't want you to know what's over there. Now, if you could get to the ice shelf, they will shoot you down. You know why they'll shoot you down and kill you? You know why? This is the rationale of the United Nations and all the people that signed the Antarctic Treaty to not allow you to go over the ice shelf. Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Black Ops, if you get somehow with an airplane and you want to circumvent the so-called globe from north to south, or south to north, before you get to the ice shelf, you set off radar and they shoot you down because no, they do. They want you dead. So, no, they shoot you down because they say if you were going to go over the ice shelf, it's so cold that anything that flew over the ice shelf, it goes down to 100 degrees below zero, which we don't know is true or not, and you would die if you went over the ice shelf. So what they do is they shoot you down and they kill you before you get to the ice shelf. They save you the trouble of going over the ice shelf. That doesn't make any sense, but that's the reasoning. The reasoning is that if you had a plane, let's say you took a 707, a refueler, a 707 refueler, right? Now, a 707 refueling that refuels other aircraft would have the ability to circumvent the whole of this fictitious globe Earth at the equator. 25,000 miles would be no problem at all, because they have enough fuel to do the circumventing of the globe Earth. But they also could do it north to south. So they would, and now as far as 60, 100 degrees below zero temperature, that's no problem for an aircraft, a jet airplane engine. There's no problem at all. People fly in and out of Antarctica where it's 80 degrees below zero all the time. They fly across, the Air Force flies in and flies out. Now they try not to do that, but they can do it. So how much colder could it be than 80 degrees below zero that the aircrafts work just fine in? They can't shut the engines off when they land. They land, they dump their payload, they pick up whatever they have to go, and they take off again. If they shut the engines off, I don't think they could get them restarted so easily. But over the Antarctic ice wall, they have no problem flying in 60, 80 degrees below zero. 40 degrees below zero was normal up there. Jet engines are made to fly in 80 degree below zero weather. So they're saying that the reason we shoot you down before you get over the ice wall, because if you go over the ice wall, you're going to die. So what they do is they shoot your plane down and you end up in the Arctic Ocean, which is like 34 degrees, and you have about 2 minutes of life in you. In 30 seconds, your body goes into shock, and in 2 minutes, you're dead. Okay, so they give you 2 minutes more of life. I don't know that's how they figure it out. So let me give you the article that NASA, this video is NASA says that the moon is hollow. I'm having a lot of trouble there. Okay, I got it. I'm going to turn this around. You're going to have to wait. It's going to pop up here. So NASA, in this article, they agree. There's a lot of stuff in here that can't be proven. But NASA does agree that the moon is hollow. According to this article. I don't know. I wasn't there. They won't let you go there. If they asked me if I wanted to go to the moon, I would go to the moon. Why not? I mean, now I physically probably wouldn't be able to pass the test anymore to go to the moon. But when I was young, I could have went to the moon. I wanted to go to the moon. I asked if I could go to the moon. They said no. Can't go to the moon, Michael Fazio. I said, well, if you have any options, openings, let me know. I'll go. I could be a videographer. I'm waiting for. See how slow YouTube is? I'm having a problem here today. The moon. So, that's the name of the video. Okay. I can wait, which I pushed already once. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'll get you the name of the article. Now my mouse is, my computer is, I have to remove a program I put in the computer. After 2 hours of going back and forth from window to window, I put an editing program in the computer called DaVinci. What a piece of garbage that is. It froze up my computer. It completely froze up my computer. I can't cut the cut. Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay. This is ridiculous. I put an editing program in the computer, and when I wasn't, it said it was compatible with Windows 10, but it's not. It is compatible with Windows 10. It's compatible, except that it freezes up your computer. You can put it in the computer, but you can't use it. As soon as you turn the program on and the functionality buttons become visible, the computer just freezes. Now, I don't even have the computer running, the program running. I'm not going to be able to. Hold on. I can't even get the comments. I'm going to go back. I'll just post the link without, I'm going to get rid of one of these windows here. 32's window, I'm going to remove just for space. I got a lot of stuff open too, but that's not really, I have the highest speed possible on the internet that I pay for. Highest, I think it's 5 megabytes. I don't know, whatever it is. Whatever it is I'm paying for, I'm not getting. Okay, so. So in this video that I'm going to post the link, Ralph Cramden. Ralph Cramden always wanted to send Alice, zoom to the moon, Alice. I remember that. NASA, NASA says moon is hollow. Now, in this video, it talks about some sort of tank that was jettisoned off of the Apollo lander 13, the one with the lander on it. Well, by the way, that's all nonsense. Man never went to the moon in the Apollo missions. Not only that, but they lie about so much stuff. They lie, I don't know about the shadow. All I know is that the physics of a 10,000-pound thrust rocket should have made an impact crater or a crater underneath the spaceship when it landed and made an immense amount of dust. It didn't happen. Now, another thing that didn't happen is when they were landing, and this guy, Neil Armstrong, the Mason, by the way, they're all Masons. When it was landing, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, when they were talking, and he said the Eagle is in the descent mode. Here he is sitting here, like I'm sitting here on my box, right? And the whole lunar module is only 15 feet in diameter and 15 feet high, right? So that means that where he's sitting on my box, where I'm sitting, underneath the box is a 10,000-pound thrust rocket, slowing the descent down to the moon. And when it hits the moon, dust from the boots create dust. The lunar rover made dust. But when 10,000 pounds of thrusted itself down into the moon, it didn't make a crater. It didn't make any dust on the landing pads or on the module. It didn't make any dust at all. Therefore, they never went to the moon. They never went to the moon. Now, did they ever go to the moon? Maybe. Maybe they had technology back from Roswell that brought them to the moon and back in, 5 minutes. I believe that. I believe they have reverse engineering space travel from aliens that could get you to the moon in 5 minutes from the time you leave. I think that their bases, wherever their bases are, I would think that some of them are underwater. But let's just say an alien spaceship on Earth, because they've seen them underwater, leaves the ocean and it could be at the moon in 5 minutes. I believe that. I believe they have spaceships that can go under the water and then fly to the moon in 5 minutes. I believe that. But I don't believe they took that lunar landing thing, went to the moon. Now, so if they had that ability, maybe they've had it since the 50s. Maybe, I don't know. None of this is provable. But I would believe they have alien technology that could bring them back and forth to the moon. I don't believe they have Earth technology, 1969 Apollo moon rockets and all that other nonsense that they had. I don't believe that. So, therefore, in that video that I posted just now, it talks about a lot of nonsensical stuff. It talks about theoretical stuff that can't be proven because NASA doesn't allow you to see the truth. If they went to the moon, it wasn't in the Apollo 11, 12, 13, 12, Apollo 11, 12, 13. They put 12 men on the moon. And in that article that you're going to read, it says they had 5 moon missions. I don't know how the guy did the math on that. But I'm not sure how many people. Maybe there were 3 people and landed in a pod. I don't know. I didn't follow that stuff. I saw the first landing. I never watched it again because I never believed it. But anyway, it talks about something that looks like the Empire State Building, some kind of, they call it the Shard. It's supposed to be 1/2 mile high or 1.5 miles high. I watched it once, but in it they talk about the moon being hollow. So it's a possibility. But the hollow moon has been in cosmology going back into ancient times. The hollow moon is concept is thousands and thousands of years old. Anybody here still here? I should have asked you guys, you want to push the thumbs up button, that would be nice. The least you could do. Moon over hammy. I don't know. I've only eaten in a Denny's. There was a Denny's in Key Largo. I don't remember eating there though. I remember eating there on the road. Moon over hammy. Moon over hammy. All right. Okay, so if you guys could push it, I should have asked. That's where I had Hammy Hamster. I heard my name. Hey, Hammy. Hey, if you just came in and want to push the thumbs up, that'd be nice. Thank you. All right, so I'm done now. I did my 3-hour live stream. And if it wasn't so windy, I'd fly the drone today. I put a load in it Monday, but we had wind yesterday. I'm looking at white caps out there in the ocean. Oh, I'll show you. Yeah, there's 2 to 3 foot waves out there today. Let me open up that window. There was a guy playing music out there before I shut the window. Hold on. I'll show you the view. Ha! Ha! And then we're gonna, you guys that just came in, want to push the thumbs up button? I forgot to say that. Okay, so here's the view. That boat out there, that's a 30-passenger dive boat that doesn't work anymore. The engine got under salt water during the lockdown. They took it off the beach last week. There were 7 boats on the beach, and the lockdown. Why they did what they did with those boats, I don't know. They put them on the beach so that they wouldn't sink in deep water, but then they didn't maintain the boats on the beach. Plus, all the storms that took place. What happened? Those boats cost about. You're not going to buy a boat like that for less than $60,000 or $70,000 US. 3 to 4 million pesos. That boat with the motor in it, and with the size of the boat and the painting and all the rigging and stuff. So about $60,000 to $80,000. When they put the boats on the shore, the wind like we have today, which doesn't look big to you, but it's big wind out there. That boat's 100 feet long, 85 to 100 feet long. The boats bounced up and down on the sand, and sand is known in the marine literature, nomenclature. Sand is hard bottom. Hard bottom is sand. Muck is soft bottom, but sand is hard bottom. In other words, that boat beating up and down on sand is just slightly less detrimental to the hull of the boat as if it was beaten up and down on concrete. It's less than concrete, but it's bad. sand will beat your boat apart. So out of the 7 boats, when they took the barge off of the shore in my video from 2 weeks ago, yellow barge removal, that's not the yellow barge. The yellow barge is garbage now. They'll probably fix it up again, but it goes to play how they don't know how to do maintenance here in the Philippines. They don't know. Good morning, mein buntag, salamat. They don't know how to do maintenance here. So when they put the boats on the sand bottom and the storms came, small storms, big storms, it don't matter. You're talking about a boat that when the tide goes out, the boat goes bounce, 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 front, back, front, back, front, back, back, front, back, front, back, front, for maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before it floats or before it sets on the sand. And that happens twice for each tide and 4 times a day. Well, 2.5 years, those boats sat on hard bottom sand. And then what happened is all the bottoms of all the boats were destroyed. So when they took the barge off of the land, I showed you the styrofoam pontoons they put under the barge to hold the barge up, because what's called the pontoons of the barge, they were garbage. They were absolute garbage. One did not leak, one did leak. And in order to get the water out of the pontoons, they had to punch a hole in the side of the pontoon, and that let out several thousand, maybe 6,000, 5,000 gallons of water in the pontoon. It was filled right up to the top. One was and one wasn't, because one bottom was already destroyed and the water leaked out when it landed on shore. But either way, all the boats, 7 boats, about $400,000, 7 times 8, about $500,000 US of boats are on the shore right now. And if I took a walk there with my data, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. If I took a walk there with my data, you would see, well, they've been cutting them up. They've been cutting them up for firewood and for building houses and stuff. They've been cutting them up with axes and hand saws, and the traco ripped one apart so that the people could get to the pieces easily. And then the owner of the boat, I don't know how many boats, I see people walking back and forth all day long for the last week with pieces of the boat. And they're using them for everything from to build maybe a small house, an outhouse behind their house. Maybe they're building benches in their backyard. But out of the 11 boats that were on the shore during the lockdown, 7 were on shore last week. That's the only one that still floats. That's why it's out there. The barge only floats because of the styrofoam that holds up the barge. And the barge, if they're going to repair it again, I don't know. I haven't been on the beach in a couple of days. I've been busy. I had to do other things. Let me read the comments. What are the white vertical stanchions in the concrete walls? They're the parts that hold up the fence, cyclone fencing. I've heard of this Corso man. Lieutenant Philip James Corso is someone who has had knowledge about assimilating UFO parts. Great book he wrote after he left the service. Yes, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. They know about UFOs. They've always known about UFOs. They're just not going to tell us. Because that also, if they tell you about UFOs, that also destroys Catholicism, because God only made one earth, remember? One fact, God only made one earth. He only made, these are the only people God ever made. And if aliens came from another race, and God only did this 6,000 years ago to the day, and if God made only one people, one earth, one set of creatures, and aliens came from another universe, it could take them 6,000 years just to get here. That destroys the Catholicism's concept of God. So many things destroys God's, the theory, the hypothetical stuff that's in the Bible is a giant storybook. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But aliens destroy the concept of God creating only one species, and we're it. They may have created us. So Hammy Hamster, if you, Scott, if you want to post a link for that Lieutenant Philip James Corso, if there's a book, if you could do that, that'd be great. Because that should be something that people, and I'm going to take these links for this stuff and I'm going to put them into, when this video's over, it's going to be over in a minute, by the way, 2 minutes. I'm going to put those links on, see the white caps? I'm going to put the links into the video. I'll wait for Scott to see if he's still awake. Yeah, those little white lines that you see to the left and right of the boat, those are 2 to 3 foot waves, and the ones in the far distance are 3 to 4 footers. There's 4 foot waves out there right now. It's just part of living on the ocean. But we have a breeze coming from the ocean, which knocks the mosquitoes off the property. Mosquitoes are being blown right off we're on a peninsula of the island of Panglao. It just knocks, there's no mosquitoes, and flies too. In fact, the first time I saw a fly was 3 days ago. The wind changed direction, came from Alona Beach towards Dolho, and it blew flies. There's a man on this block that has pigs, and pigs generate flies. Pig farming is a very, very, very popular place for flies to live, thrive. Flies thrive on a pig farm, I'll tell you that. Yeah. I'm big into eating mosquitoes. I've been eating a lot of mosquitoes lately. I've been big into, snacks only though, not for my main meal. Okay, so maybe Scott does not have the ability to get that, or maybe Scott's still there. Okay, yeah. Is there a link for that Lieutenant James Corso? I could look it up later. Don't worry about it, Scott. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't pushed the thumbs up button, try doing that, and I'll get back to my box. I'll get back to my box, and then I'll say goodbye. Yeah, see next to that boat now, see those big waves? Those white waves? That's the reef out there. So that fella, the Chinese fella that was in the yellow barge video, the thin man with the white shirt, he owns but he works, it's probably his family, I don't know the deal. I know the guys, I get along really well with him. I've known him for about 6 years. He's a very quiet man, but he runs huge businesses he runs at least 4 hotels and 3 huge dive centers. So with that, he doesn't really associate with the locals. He'll say hello, and we talked off camera. I didn't put him on camera on purpose. He was not having a good day. He had just spent 1 million pesos to redo that barge, to renew it, and it got destroyed. So I talked to him off camera. They do. Philip Corso, yeah. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, the God created man. It's nonsense, but there is a higher power that you can get in touch with through meditation and chanting. I've talked about that. Someone thumbs up. The odd number. Sounds like something. All right, so, yeah, so there's the concept of God. When I set out to prove the existence of God, what I did in the book, Angels on the Ark by Michael Fazio, I proved that God doesn't exist and something else does exist, and both good and bad. And I've also said this many times. If you want to be what is called a Satanist, you can do that in just a matter of minutes. So, pin the tail on the cobra. If you want to become a Satanist, you can have the power of earthly riches and wealth by becoming a Satanist. That can happen in a matter of minutes if you know the right if you know how to intonations and you know what to ask for. It's not hard, but to become godlike is something else that you can't do. You have to that could or could not happen. Spiritual awareness, but to become a negative Satanist, that's easy. There's lots of people on here that do that, by the way. Lots of people on YouTube are Satanists. You just don't know it. There's a lot of people that have prayed to Satan for the power of earthly wealth and goods. A lot of people. And people that you know. And people that you will never know what they did. You get people that you do know that have done that, and for instance, the Bushes, both Bushes, the presidents, they were demonic in nature. Mr. Obama, he was a good man. He was a very God-fearing man, Mr. Obama. He was like the best president ever. But a lot of other people, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Queen of England, nobody is more satanic in nature than the Pope. Maybe the Queen. I think the two of them would have to be on equal status. The fact that Pope Francis, remember Pope Francis? Oh God, he was so much against, he was against the gay community all his life. His whole tenure in being a priest and a bishop and an archbishop, and then he became the Pope, and he hated the Rainbow Coalition. Pope Francis, he was against gays in the church. He was against gays in general. And then when he retired from being a Pope, he was the only Pope to ever retire. He retired so that he could marry his gay secretary that he had an affair with for the last 30 years. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You could look it up. Was Pope Francis gay? And he was gay. The gay Pope. And but all his life he said that he hated gays, and then he turned out he was gay. And the Queen of England and the Pope, why I say they're satanic in nature, has nothing to do with being gay or not being gay. It has to do with the investment of the British wealth most of their earnings in stocks and bonds from the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the coffers at the Vatican and the British Empire, most of their investment returns, money-wise, most of the investment returns come from products that are made to do war. In other words, any kind of bombs, any kind of munitions, the paint that they put on tanks and the paint that they put on Jeeps and the tires that they put on Jeeps and half tracks and the tracks they put on track vehicles and the radios that they put inside the tanks and the Jeeps and the Humvees. All of that stuff you can invest into war equipment that does war paraphernalia, all of that. The biggest return on the money for the Catholic and the Church and the British government is their investment into war. Well, the war machine. It's called the war machine. That's true. You won't hear about it, but it's true. Even down to the small stuff like the company that mines the steel and then does the mill work for the steel, for the rims, for the tires that go on heavy-duty tank, half-track tanks and military equipment. They invest in the company that makes the steel, that makes the rims. Then the people that deliver the rims to the war machine, to the factories that they assemble the rims on the war equipment, they own the trucks that deliver the war equipment to the war equipment places. And then they own the gas stations that the trucks buy gas from, that deliver the goods to the military services. They own it all. And that's how they make their money. All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just say goodbye. Thanks for watching. I'm done. I read all the comments. Scott, if you're going to be up, I'll give you a call. Say hello. If you just say yes or no. Well, I'll tell you what. If your Skype is on, I'll call you on Skype. If it's off, then I'll know you're going to sleep. So everybody, thanks for watching. God day to everybody from Michael Fazio, and I do believe that you will soon be seeing Daisy May. Amping Permi from the Philippines, baby. From Michael and Daisy May. And of course, Amping Permi, which means take care always. Bye-bye for now. That's right. Bye-bye for now. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. Bye-bye.